Hey everyone, we are back for another exciting rehearsal this week, and we are in the midst of all things drum corps and marching band. Our hosts are ready to get you through it, so we're going to find out what made Ricardo say.
Or at least growing it, maybe they don't go on another weekend, maybe go in the week in between. So it's like literally a full week and a half long event. That would be fantastic.
And why Trish said,
I hate to say it, one of the best endings of DCI this year.
All this and more, so get out on the field and we will see you back on the sidelines for this week's episode of On a Water Break.
8 off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
Welcome to another episode of Season 2 of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Stephen McCarrick, and here we are, almost the end of the DCI season, getting ready for another season of marching band yet again. We've got a great group to help get you through it this month, and we've got some great stories, some great advice. So let's see who we've got on the sidelines this week. We've got Trish back with us once again.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. We got a lot of Northeast shows. Finally, it's here.
Yes,
I've been waiting.
Mm-hmm.
The best marching fans in the world have been waiting for it to come up to Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I know.
I think I'm going to see like 4 shows in 7 days. It's crazy.
Oh, it's awesome.
So excited.
I will be at East both nights, so I'm excited.
Cool. I will have to find you because I've been the worst and I haven't found you yet.
It's all good. We're going to have a little reunion. It's all good.
Cool. Yeah. Little On a Water Break reunion at Allentown.
I love it.
I know someone who listens to this is going to be there. It's got to be.
I know.
But Ricardo, can't believe I actually get the chance to talk to you here.
I know. I'm home for just a few days to teach my home kids here for band camp and actually get my classroom prepared because I will be at DCI week during pre-planning. So I'm trying to teach 12-hour band camp days and get my classroom ready and keep up with everything that's going on with the drum corps and get ready to see you guys at Allentown on Friday night. I'm so excited.
Yes.
It's going to be a good time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've been keeping busy. I want to talk more about Academy later on, but how long do you roll right into school after you get done with DCI and band camp?
So here's the crazy thing for all of the listeners out there. For those of you know, this is my first year as the caption head. I have been away from my house for 6 weeks. I went on vacation for a week and I did teach the Music for All camp for a week, but I have effectively been gone from my house for 6 weeks. I got home last night at 9 p.m., watched a little TV on my couch and cuddled with my puppy dog, went to sleep, woke up and went to band camp. And then I go back this week for the last week. I land on Sunday afternoon at 1:00 p.m. on Sunday. And then I have children in my classroom on Monday morning at 7:30 a.m.
Oh,
God bless.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So it's a little crazy right now, and this is where all of the prep and planning and all of the years of experience are going to come into play because I'm going to be running on fumes and we're going to get through it because you know what? We are band people and this is what we do.
That's dedication right there, but I expect nothing less.
Is it dedication or is it insanity? Because
don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. All right, and we've got some great guest clinicians with us tonight as well. We've got Jeff Ream in the house. Oh, Jeff, you might be on mute.
Oops. Hello there.
There we go. Jeff, good to have you on the show.
Yes, good to be back.
Yeah, I think we may have done a 32 count life story before, but why don't we do a quick one? We'll throw the metronome under and you can just bring our listeners back up to speed in case they didn't get to meet you last time. You ready to give it a go?
Hi, Jeff Ream, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, more frequently with the DCAF podcast group. Since last time, the most exciting thing I've been doing is I went to Disneyland and built a lightsaber 2 weeks ago.
Nice. It's good to not get stuck on band all the time. You got to get out the house, got to build some lightsabers every once in a while.
Believe it or not, we did not see the Disneyland marching band the whole trip. So, yeah.
Is that good or bad for you guys?
I don't know. We just never saw them.
So this was Disneyland, California Disneyland.
California, yes.
Nice.
Oh. Yeah,
Totally
no,
different vibe and a lot cooler than Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a reason why SoCal has a lot of DCI shows and Florida doesn't.
Because it's literally cooler is what you're saying.
Yeah, and a lot less humidity, yeah.
I didn't pick up on that at first. I thought you were like hating on Disney World or something. It's not cool enough.
No, it's fine. It's just, Florida in July sucks.
I agree. So does Texas in July, but it seems as though it's been going decent for some of these drum corps down there. Tony, we've also got Tony on the sidelines with us, Tony Rideout, who...
Hi, everybody.
I believe you're new to the show, right, Tony?
I am. I get a full 32, and I'm nervous already about this.
Oh,
I
come on.
prepare myself to do
It's not that bad. I got done in 30 the first time.
Oh, okay, well.
I think you'll fill it up pretty well. Why don't we give it a go?
Hi, I'm Tony Rideout. I got started in this whole crazy marching arts thing by marching the Reading Buccaneers in 95. I marched the cadets of Bergen County. You have to add the Bergen County because there is a difference. And then I've taught groups like Crown and Crossman and Boston and the Hawthorne Caballeros. And I ended my drum corps career at C2.
Yeah.
How much time do I have left? That's right. I got you.
That's all we got. Well, you've got some space, I think, but there we go. That was what I knew you from, man.
Yes.
It was it's cool to me because I think, were you teaching the tubas at C2?
Believe it or not, yes, I was the tuba tech. And
I don't know that I could name another tuba tech or really another brass tech, honestly, from like most of my marching career. But like you were such a positive and exciting, just like force to be reckoned with at C2.
thank you. I appreciate that. You know,
like you stood out, I think, to everyone in the corps, whether it was a tuba player or anyone else in the entire ensemble. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I was super excited. Trish put in our group chat, she was like, so what about, do you guys know Tony Rideout? He was asking me about maybe hopping on the call. And I was like, yes, immediately. Yes.
But
So
I won't use some of the colorful language that I did because we have rules against that now. Like, we don't do that now.
It was something worked for it though, because C2 was some magic back then, man. That was a special little DCA core back in its day. But
Yes, they certainly were.
all right, why don't we get into the news here? Trish, I think you've got an actual kind of cool story to get us started, right?
I do. So I received my regular director's email from WGI today, in fact. And I was really surprised and happy to see that they're really trying to build up the wins category. And for the 2025 and 2026 WGI seasons, wins groups new to WGI competition or a returning group that hasn't participated since 2022 can enjoy one free event registration. And for those of you who've ever registered a guard or a group, percussion, wins in a WGI event, it is not cheap. So this is really, really great for them to do. The WINS director, Wayne Dillon, who's actually their new director, was quoted as saying, "Our goal is to show more directors that there is an outlet worth pursuing with your music program. Removing the financial barrier for entry allows you to bring your program and witness the incredible and positive effect that WGI WINS has had on groups of young performers and musicians." So if you're interested in doing that, head over to WGI.org and, go register in an event and give it a whirl.
Yeah, be a first mover. I mean, you're not a first mover. There's a lot of groups already, but this thing is growing. Anytime we have guests on and they talk to us about like what WGI Wins is turning into, it gets me so excited because it's like every year it's just huge steps in front of what it was last year every time.
Yeah. I can remember back in the day when percussion was brand new to WGI and they were growing that whole thing. And I mean, look at where it's come now. This is a huge thing for some of these groups. I know a couple of the groups around here have Wins teams, but they don't ever do any of the WGI shows because it's so expensive. But once you start competing in that WGI realm and you get to see some of those top tier groups, that's inspiration for your kids. That's gonna push your kids to want to be better. I know my program grew exponentially when I started taking my kids to WGI and they were seeing the best of the best and groups that they don't, see every weekend at shows. It's inspiring to them. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the Wins teams. I'm excited to see the growth that's going to happen. I'm excited to see the creativity that's going to come out of this. This is a good thing for the pageantry arts.
Yeah, totally. It's cool. Never would have expected we'd have like subsidies for the marching arts but like it's awesome that we can grow the activity out that way. And I think we might need it because like something that I worry about, I remember we used to talk on tour about like, is this even going to be feasible as we move on? And like, it seems like each summer is hotter and hotter than the summer before. Things get more and more expensive. Like I almost look at WGI Wins growing as like, that's the lifeline for like the whole marching arts just is maybe WGI as we go on and on.
It's going to need another weekend if it keeps growing.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Totally.
That's a good thing. 3 weekends of WGI competition, for a world championships competition. I think that's amazing. Or at least growing it. Maybe they don't go on another weekend, maybe go in the week in between. So it's like literally a full like week and a half long event. That would be fantastic.
That would be interesting then. Like you would have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, basically for wins, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday again for percussion. That would be pretty cool.
I always joke at WGI, I normally go to the color guard version, and I always tell like the concession ladies, I'm like, now next weekend, this is going to be a whole different kind of thing. So added up the weekend with the wins, they're going to have no idea what they're doing. Or like, what is going on here?
I feel like no one knows what's going on with the wins yet, but that's the magic of it.
Yes,
Still getting figured out. Lots of space to go in and be creative and wins. So if you got a group, if you've got a high school, if you've been considering it, they want you to do it. They're going to let you do it for free. You should go do it. But Ricardo, I think you've got our next story, right?
I do. And you know what's so funny is this is so cool. And we are doing the same thing this week, but looking at the Knox News from Knoxville, Tennessee, and members of the Farragut High School marching band got sprayed off by some of their local firemen. The Knox County firemen went over to their band camp on their last day, and they've done this for 4 years, and they sprayed the kids off with the fire hose. And when I tell you, people go to knoxnews.com, check out these pictures of these kids having the time of their lives, getting cooled off by these fire hoses, just being kids and playing. It seems like so much fun. We are actually going to do the same thing on Friday of this week and have the fire truck come out and spray. We do a band Olympics with our kids for the last day, and they get to compete in sections. And the final thing is just the fire trucks are coming. So you want to talk about seeing some kids enjoying themselves, having a good time. And y'all, it is hot in the world right now. Y'all don't believe climate change is real? Walk outside.
Yep. There you have it.
Walk outside. You will see. I almost want a fire truck to come to my house right now and spray me out.
It's one way to clean the horns.
That too.
You're
I didn't
right.
think about that. Maybe not the woodwinds, but yeah, definitely the brass.
Oh man. Okay. That's a good idea. Honestly, that would be a great thing to talk about later on. We're gonna have some good tips and tricks for getting through band camp. And I think if you've got a fire truck handy, you can get through band camp no problem. It's going to make it light work. But Let's see. I think, Jeff, you've got another story for us here, right?
Yeah, this just hit on Facebook a little while ago. If you pull up WKRN News 2 out of Knoxville, or Nashville, excuse me, a tornado just blew through Middle Tennessee State, literally right where the Murfreesboro show was 4 nights ago. And it looks like the tornado went right through campus, possibly even hitting part of the stadium. So they have some footage, I guess, from one of the cameras on top of the stadium. Not cool, but that's the joy of summertime in the South is you got twisters coming and they'll make a movie and then you'll go cow, sing cow, you know.
We got
crazy.
cows.
That
was
is one thing.
movie I was allowed to see my year that I marched DCI, and that was at spring training. We all went to see Twister.
We went to see it after a full day of drill rehearsal for DCA course. So
absolutely, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's someone no one prepares you for. You really become like a weather watcher, a tornado chaser or something out there on tour. I would spend most of my time staring at the cloud, waiting, trying to figure out if that thing was going to give me rain and get me off to the sideline.
Hey, I was on a parking lot where lightning hit way at the back end of the parking lot, and if you want to see a DCA Corps ages 15 to 50 run for their lives, that night it happened.
Sounds like an explosion. I actually had a similar story once because we were doing like base subs around this light pole in our spring training facility, and it started drizzling. We figured like, let's go inside. We don't need it today. And then like 2 minutes after we went outside, boom, like a huge bolt of lightning just right on the light pole that we were just rehearsing next to, which would have just like ruptured my eardrums probably. It would have been crazy.
But you'll never ticket that part again, will you? There you go. It all worked out.
No, I listen. I don't mess with the rain now. I'm wearing a giant metal harness and a big heavy metal drum. I don't need any of that.
I was right there with you. We're carrying a 28-inch Pearl. Yep.
All right. I've got the next story for us here. We might have mentioned this one before, but I think people got to hear about it. It's a really great opportunity. So Metallica is bringing back its marching band competition again, the For Whom the Band Tolls marching band competition. So they've got multiple divisions across a couple different categories, whether it's a high school band, college band, I think even different size bands for the two different like scholastic levels. If you go and you design a college or a high school show using Metallica music, you could win all sorts of prizes. Last year, they gave out 16,000 prizes for groups to use to purchase instruments, things like that. Looks like it totals, upwards of like $250,000 that is out there for the winners of this competition to use to buy instruments, buy uniforms, and all the other things that you need to have a great season. So play some fun music, be a part of the competition. It's cool. I wish more bands would do things like Metallica's doing, where instead of making it hard to sample their music and hard to get the rights to use the show, they actually are happy to give it to everyone so that marching bands around the country promote their music and they can do a good music education. So shout out to Metallica. They did not.
Two stories in like the news portion of people promoting pageantry and marching arts in addition to the regular funding, which means there's actually great value to it, and other people are seeing it besides us.
Yeah, I mean, look, I work in a business financy bank job, and I'll say this: the way I look at it, Metallica wouldn't give away $250,000 if they didn't think there was something in it for them for running a very big band competition and trying to reach out and appease to all of these marching band folks. So I think it's a good example of how it goes both ways. You're not just throwing money away when you give it to arts education. So
you know what else is a good example of, Stephen? It's a good example of remembering where you came from, because I'm pretty sure that all of those guys in Metallica were all in marching band, and they know the value of what they got from the experiences from being in a high school and college marching band. They wouldn't be half the musicians that they are today without that experience. So we know, all of us out there, this is my little ploy for everybody that's out there in the world that, maybe it's not necessarily in the pageantry arts world, but what it did for you. Give back, because we know that this is important for kids.
It's crazy. You see like different artists that are really successful and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that I've seen like that Lil Wayne had something to do with marching band. I'm pretty sure I'm not making that up. It's crazy. It was like when he was 11 or something.
I had a list, and I don't remember where I found this list at, but there was like a list of all of these celebrities that all did like band in high school and college. And I mean, it's like some of the people on there and the instruments that they played, you would never think that that's what they did, but they were. It's valuable. Advocate for the arts all day long, y'all. It's important.
That's all I do. All day, every day. But let's get into these things DCI here, especially percussion. I've been excited to talk about this. I feel like we haven't talked a ton about it yet, but I feel like Boston finally is really getting the come around. Jeff, have you been like paying close attention to what's been going on this last couple days with scores and all?
Yeah, I have. I haven't seen any of the world-class groups live yet, so you can't always base your full opinion off of flow. If we could, everybody would judge WGI from home in between the buffering. But it's a tight battle happening with percussion this year. Some interesting movements and rankings the last couple days, like last night, Troopers beating Crown in percussion.
Whoa.
There's a lot of really good, well-designed stuff that, I've seen people complaining, oh, these guys don't know how to juggle their numbers. No, it's that tight from what I'm seeing. Because when you look at the names on these recaps, these are people that know. So, Boston seems to have finally figured out what it takes. And I think, honestly, their approach this year has been a little bit less is more, which I think is good. It eliminates some of the potential for, sorry, I sound old school here, but ticks, or eliminates maybe that fuzz just because they're trying so much, but making sure what they have is absolutely spotless. Bluecoats have such a well-designed total package that it's just going to take Roger and team, those last 2 weeks to put all the finishing touches on it, and they'll be right there. And never, ever count out the Blue Devils.
I know.
Never.
You don't.
Yeah.
Cavaliers seem to have regained their footing. They apparently had some internal drama a few weeks ago, and their percussion scores kind of plummeted. Now they're coming back into the conversation. Of course, Vanguard is back. It's nuts. It just, at the top of world class, in the middle of world class, there's some nice battles. Even down in open and all age, there's some really, really great stuff happening with percussion this year. It's like finally that merge of indoor and outdoor has kind of come together, besides just stealing the same body moves over and over at every break. And you're really getting that clarity that you're looking for. Everybody's finally figured out like tuning with some of the newer equipment that when it's on, it's just spotless. Like I'm watching Night Beat last night, and I laughed a couple of times watching the TV just because you could hear things that 3-4 years ago with the tuning schemes everybody was using, you couldn't hear. It's like people finally figured out how to tune for outdoor versus indoor, not just tuning every day for indie. You got to know your venue, and I think that's finally coming back into vogue as they keep going to the same stadiums over and over again. They know what to play for.
That's interesting. I wonder if groups are really like trying to adjust their tuning throughout the summer depending on it. Because like throughout a lot of it's really like a progressive thing. You don't just show up and like win drums at finals usually all of a sudden. It's usually because like through days and weeks of competition, you've been getting judges to agree that you're the best. And now there's like this current that's like in your favor for things to go your way, like a current of popular opinion, I might consider it.
Well, I think they learned from the audio guys, because several of the Core's audio guys have been public about they keep a book on the stadiums they go to. So they know how to set up for Allentown. They know now after a couple of years that the new stadium, everything's in Atlanta. When you keep going to these places over and over again, you kind of figure out how the building or facility works. and you make those notes so you remember. So when you're rolling in next year and you have your 3 minutes to get everything set up, hooked up, running, plugged in, powered on, unlike Music City last night, God love them, but they had to take a 4-point penalty. It took them forever to get going.
Rough. Yeah, I saw that. That was rough.
You know, these guys have, a lot of these guys have figured out now, not only do you do that with just what's coming through the speakers, but maybe you do that with the drums. I know, you know, back in the day, Trish, you know, the last time I was on, we talked about the grand old days in Scranton. We knew how to tune the drums for that, especially when you get that echo coming off the mountain behind the stadium versus what we would tune for at Hershey or Cumberland or Clifton or other places we would go. And I think the DCI guys are starting to figure out that, you know, we're going to Murph every year unless we fall out of the top 8. We know what acoustics we're going to get at Murfreesboro. Let's tune for that. We know what we're going to get at Wake Forest. Let's tune for that. And, you know, everybody knows how to tune for Allentown. So, you know, I think that's playing a part in it, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's also, it's how you tune for it, but they're making the same decisions as they're writing the shows. They're like, my biggest and most important shows are generally going to be in an indoor stadium. So like we're trying to design these percussion parts that are going to read maybe in a more reverby environment. You can kind of play with a little bit more, cover up the sound when you're in the backfield, when there's a whole big like echoey space that you're inside of.
But even I've noticed, and again, I haven't been to Indy in several years, but even on flow, you notice a difference with how people are tuning and things are cutting through in Indy than you did for a long time there. It's like everybody's finally, especially when you have so many of these people that also deal with BOA in November, they're getting enough time in that stadium that they kind of know how to play it. And I truly think that's coming into play, not just what's being written for them, but how to make it sound when they hit the drum. I mean, you know, Vanguard is going to sound like Vanguard no matter where they go. But I know in some years I've seen him in Westchester and then 2 nights later see him in Allentown. And you can tell things are tuned just a little differently because they know how you're going to get that sound off the back wall in Allentown versus off the back bleachers at Westchester.
It's really interesting. I never considered that groups would do that, but I totally think that's what the highest level of the activity probably is doing and is probably considering. They're thinking about things like that. But Jeff, one group that I think we didn't mention that has been surprising me too, it's Phantom Regiment.
Yes. I remember, I think it was the Aged Out podcast did episode with their new team last year, and I believe he's a Rennick disciple. Okay. And he's slowly but surely turning it around, but I think his writing has now started meshing more with what Shaw does with the brass, which I think is really helping it pop. It's not quite as notey dense 50,000 rim shots a second as they had with the previous team. And it's really playing off. It takes a while to build a program. You don't just automatically go in somewhere and, you know, you're great overnight. I mean, look how many years it took for, you know, Rennick to get Phantom to where they were before he left and went to Vanguard. And then there was a little bit of a time there. It takes time to build these programs up, no matter who you are. And he's putting it together. That whole package is, I think, what I'm looking forward to seeing most live this weekend. Even though they're not going to win, that's the show I want to see the most, just because it's just, the whole thing is speaking to me.
Yeah, they're really are having a moment this summer, the full core, not just the drum line, where I feel like they are coming back in a real serious way. Because for a while, I feel like Phantom, it's not like any core is bad per se or something, but people weren't really putting them in the same competing bracket that they had been maybe in the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Well, I mean, before the pandemic, there was serious concern they were going to fall out of finals in 19, and they managed to hold on to it. And, you know, just the reboot and then bringing Shaw back and adding the pieces they've added, it's brought Phantom back, and they're getting standing O's before the last note pretty much everywhere. So that's going to be a fun one to see. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Vanguard in person, because that show is not translated well to me online. I think that's my biggest thing this year, is several of the shows online have not translated to me as well as maybe in past years. I think they're almost kind of designing for you have to fully experience it live. So I'm really looking forward to this weekend in Allentown, being able to hear everything and see everything, and, you know, getting a good deep read on everything. I have to, you know, keep my percussion brain on, keep my effect brain on as I prepare for the fall. But I'll probably defer to drums instantaneously just because that's what I do.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be spending all my time just watching bass drums, man, just doing what I do for sure. But
well, when we get to what are you doing, I got one about that.
Oh, okay.
So when you guys,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So when you guys, you percussion guys, is it more fun for you guys to watch the shows or the lots? Because the lot thing is something that is a thing in color guard, but it's not as big a thing as it seems to be in percussion. Like it seems to be, I even noticed in marching band this year, even marching bands would be like, would post their performance time and their lot time. I'm like, okay, we're doing that now here too. But, is it, do you guys run to the lots or do you guys run to the stands to watch the show?
How good are my seats in the stadium?
Show.
The show, okay.
Yes, and if we're doing what are we doing, I can elaborate more there because I'm going to change the title slightly.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I would say, at least for me, it's probably the show. I'm trying to really being on this podcast. It makes me appreciate the rest of the activity more. Is really all there is to it. I used to definitely, if you had talked to me 4 years ago, it would have been lots, not a question.
Wow. Okay.
But the fact that there was this entire conversation about tuning drums for different venues, and you think of the growth in the other sections, the instructors at the first championship could never have fathomed these kind of conversations.
Right.
Ever happening. And I think that shows that there's a lot of growth in our activity. It's becoming more sophisticated.
Definitely.
And we as audience members kind of sometimes have to educate ourselves to the finer little nuances too. And it's just a wonderful experience.
Not to age myself, but I learned the difference in tuning in the 70s when my dad was marching, because his corps of the Yankee Rebels was butting heads with the Skyliners all summer long. And it all came down to who tuned differently and which judge liked what. Because the Yankee Rebels like to tune tighter and higher. So if something didn't fall into place, it was evident. The Skyliners tuned a little muddier, a little wetter, and a lot of stuff had an inherent fuzz. But if you were up close, you could tell it wasn't truly dirty. And that's listening to, and the Legion posts those stories about tuning, that stuck with me all these years and all the years I taught and everything. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I pull into the Scranton parking lot of Scranton and dig out the drum key and say, okay, boys, we're going way up today, except for you. You just hit your drum hard and make that bottom head paper thin. And there we go.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like there's a whole meta to it. I could talk for a long time about how I think all sorts of different instructors have their own like techniques that they're doing to try to like how they think that's going to aid their competitive success. It's like, it's a whole ordeal.
And I think the equipment comes into play because of how the equipment is made now. And I think the one advantage that Bluecoats may have going in is Thomas sounds so much better inside than it does outside. And I've noticed it with indoor the last few years, and then seeing it, in the fall with groups using it and watching with the Bluecoats. That year they won drums 2 years ago, the week before Downtown, I was like, eh. And finals night, I'm like, whoa, those drums sound better inside than they do outside. And I think that could come back to help them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with Vanguard with the Dynasties. Those drums just sound so warm and like so wet, and that's what they want to sound like. It's like that's how they sound as good as they do, is because that's their sound.
Well, and it helps that they get the drums kind of custom made to their specifics a little bit too.
Yeah,
so
they're basically the only group that can have Dynasties. But
yeah, I've never heard Dynasty sound that good anywhere else.
But I'll stop derailing this podcast. We've actually got to go. We've got to go get my camera set up for these lots that I'm going to be recording this upcoming weekend. But we'll be right back in a couple minutes here.
Hey, Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
All right, we're back. Let's talk about band camp. So, outside of the obvious, bring sunscreen advice. What are some other things that band or guard directors can do to keep the kids getting good work in, but, staying engaged, not looking to give up? How can you help get the most out of band camp?
Well, it's been a long time since I've done band camp. I became a parent and stopped teaching band. But the number one thing I always remembered is read your kids. Mm-hmm. You can tell where they're at mentally and physically. You know when they need that break. You know when maybe it's time to take things off the drill field and go work on some notes inside for a little bit. Just read your kids. That's the biggest thing you can do.
Yeah, I agree. And you can play to their attention span a little bit too. I know that it's old school band and everyone wants to really work hard, get the most out of their blocks, but it's going to be fine. You can take a little break, play some games, do something fun every now and then. We don't need to be going so hard. You're going to push them further than they can actually put out.
Listen, one more rep in July. One more rep in July is not going to make or break you in November.
No, it's not.
It's just not going to do it. Kids, especially, in 2024, kids are different. They are. And we can be the back in my day crowd and, talk about how we used to push and do all this stuff. Kids aren't built that way anymore. And you have to recognize that. Also, again, climate change is real. It's hot.
And humid.
It's hot. It's humid. And I'm in Florida. So it's we are in the swamp. Literally, the school is on a swamp. So
that's terrible, actually, thinking of it. I remember on tour, at least Swamp Tour ends. If you're in Florida high school band, it never ends.
It never ends. I got so spoiled the last 2 months, essentially, I've been on the West Coast where there is no humidity. Now, it was 110 plus degrees in places, but there was no humidity. I got home today to my band camp and it was 85 degrees and 97% humidity, and I was ready to fight everybody.
No, thank you. And I think one thing that kind of goes along with what has been said, anyone who works with people in general, especially educators, you have to develop those relationships with your kids. Now, your new kids, it's going to take a little time, but if your best student, the one who never complains, starts sucking their teeth and rolling their eyes, there's something wrong. Like you said, let's just take a little break. And gush and goes, I don't really know if that's the most effective use of time anymore. Sometimes either go, sit, take a couple minutes, let your brain think about something else. Then we can go back and then we can get back to work.
Yeah. We need to gush and go have a snack.
Oh,
you know what my band director, Amy Wilcox, does, and I've tried to emulate it with the Winter Guard too, is she'll tell the kids specifically, it's 8:07. At 8:12 or 8:13, whatever, we're going to be set up in page 7. So they now know. So first of all, they have their phones in their hands. They're on break, so they're looking at their phones.
Yeah.
They know what time it is. And they mentally now know, okay, I have this amount of time. She gives them specific times to start okay, it's 8:07. We're going to start back up at 8:15 in page 12 or whatever. And they know. And it's real. To me, it works. It's really effective.
Mm-hmm. And also in the Northeast, given when band camps generally happen, you have those kids that literally come right off a tour and back to band camp. And you have to remind them that this is not tour. They're still like at the end of the season, go, 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 kill, kill, kill till you drop mode. And the rest of the band is not going to be there. And you have to back those kids off.
Yes.
That one goes for kids in drum corps too, honestly. Like if you're going back to your college band or something, like just check in and remember that you're not doing the same band. We're doing different things now. Like drum corps trying to be competitive and be the best is not the same thing as going back to your college band and trying to be entertaining, trying to have a good time and do well by the school. I think that like when I was in college, that was totally missed on me. I was like, dude, my college band is dirty. Well, the music we play is easy. Bring me back to drum corps.
I made the switch. I went from being in the horn line, and then after I marched, I went to the color guard afterwards because I can't do that, right? And with like the new kids, the language that we use takes like we all know what 8 to 5 is without thinking about it. But like during the percussion talk, you all sounded like the teacher on Charlie Brown. I did not understand. Right? I was like, oh, because I thought Dynasty was a TV show. I know. But like, it's those shortcuts we have because this is what we do for like a living, or it's just another band camp. We do this, we do that. It's that empathy piece, that social and emotional learning piece that we really kind of have to really be mindful of. Little Sally's eventually got to figure out how to turn her shoulders so she's not playing to the hot dog stand. Again, that's a November problem. In July, she's just trying to figure out where she's going.
She's trying to figure out left foot, right foot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I'm probably one of the worst, like caption head instructors because I don't, in July and really for the first part of August, I don't even go into the tower with my high school band. I am on the field with the kids. I'm walking around with the kids, like cracking jokes. Like we have little inside games that we play that are stupid that they do in each rep, stuff like that. And somebody said snacks earlier. My kids now put like candy in their fanny packs with their dot books and their chalk. And so they're always like grabbing, candy and stuff. I'll walk up to kids. I'll be like, what you got in your bag? And it creates this little bond with the kid and that little scared freshman that's terrified and they're freaking out. Like they have this little tiny moment with you. And whatever that tiny moment is, they go, hey, I remember when he got a Jolly Rancher from me. Or, sometimes I take candy out to the field and I just walk around and I sneak them to kids. I'm like, here, eat this, Like you have to do those things to make the kids want to be there, make them remember, because that's the stuff that they're going to remember in the end. They're not going to remember, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're not going to remember where you placed. They're not going to remember any of that stuff. They're going to remember the bond that they had with the instructors. They're going to remember the bond that they had with their friends. They're going to remember the laughs. They're going to remember crazy stuff like getting sprayed with the fire hose. All of those are the things that are the memories. I
don't always go up in the box either, and here's why: because a lot of times, more than this one time at band camp, during sectionals, you just taught like 8 pages of work, and now at night they're putting it with the bands on the field, and then it's like set it up for a run through, and you could just see the panic. So I'll say to my staff, we got to stay down here and close caption. And they're like, what's closed caption? I'm like, we got to do the work in front of them. I call it closed caption, the little box in the corner of the person, like, that's us. I'm like, we got to spin with them. We got to close caption this for them so that they'll have something to watch and they'll be able to see that it does work with the music and they'll be able to figure it out. And another thing I do is those sophomores, juniors, and seniors, not that long ago, they were freshmen. And I'll say to them all the time, I'll be like, raise your hand if you ever felt on the first day of band camp you were never going to be able to do this. And yet here you still are. So you need to be telling your stories to these new people. So, oh my God, my first day, oh my God, it was so hard. It was so hot. And then it got bad. You know, you need to tell them, because me saying it and you saying it is two different things. So a lot of times I do that as well. So that's another thing that works for me. But I also had a question I wanted to ask you guys, because we don't do this yet, but I wanted to ask you guys, those of you who are using like electronic drill books and dot books, I mean, I guess, not to do, a plug or anything for like UDB or anything, but how do you guys find that? I mean, for me as a teacher, as well as a color guard director, I would be like, you're not only looking at your dot on page 12, you're texting your friend, or you're looking at TikTok, or you're doing whatever. So, how do you guys find that those of you who use those apps, like, how do you guys find that works?
I think it's twofold, Trish. Like, one, as a classroom teacher, I'm used to always running around making sure kids aren't on their phones. So I'm always doing that anyway. But I think the second thing is if your rehearsal is engaging and it's moving at a pace that they aren't, they can't sit down and think about what's happening on Snapchat, they're not going to do it. They're not going to really be on. This is our third year using it and at the high school, and then we obviously use it with the drum corps. And I hardly ever have kids that are on their phones doing other stuff just because they're thinking about what the work is going to be right there. They're trying to figure out what their dots are. And everything moves at a quick pace, so they don't have time to. So that would be my recommendation. Be vigilant, but also keep it moving.
But to add to that, once you there's going to be that one knucklehead trombone player, because there always is. You're going to have to keep your eye on that individual a little more than somebody else. Like,
right.
That's that relationship piece, and the freshmen are just trying to survive. So you're not going to have to worry about the talk happening there, right? It's the other folks.
Right.
I think it's not too bad. Like, as a younger person that was in ensembles using it, like, I did sometimes go on my phone, but like normally that's something that you would do when you can tell that like your tech is over on the other side of the floor doing something with the quad line or something. I feel like it's kind of like we were talking about meeting your students where they are. Like, kids nowadays are constantly popping on their phone for 20 seconds, 30 seconds while they're doing other things. We want to corral it well, but it's like you're saying that if you give them a good, fun experience, like, they're going to pop in, do what they need to do, but they'll be mostly with you. And the tool is so helpful that like, that's how a kid is going to learn now, that sort of UDB app is going to be so like intuitive to a ninth grader that's picking up band.
Can we rewind that back to the younger part? Excuse me, young man. I'll meet you after rehearsal. We'll handle it.
It's okay, Tony. We can both go still march. We can march bush.
Oh, listen, I would need a wheelchair and an oxygen tank. Listen, no.
If you want to take it way back to that percussion discussion we had a little while ago, Bushwhackers Drum Line, killing it.
This body will never wear a drum again.
You can play. I'll tell
you what though. For me anyway, and I have so many friends that disagree with me. For me anyway, it's never going to go away. The desire is never going to go away. I went to the first all age show and a couple of Spartan 7th Regiment, a couple of opens there too, up in Shelton, Connecticut. And as soon as we pulled in the parking lot, I said to my boyfriend, I'm getting all the feels. You see everybody hanging out outside their cars. They're in their warm-up stuff. They just had their shower. They're like ready to go. I'm like, oh, it's all kind of like I'm getting all the feels again. So like, I wish I could do it still, but.
And funny thing, Trish, 2 weeks later, I pulled into an all-age show, and the first thing I heard as I got out of the car is, oh, they need to fix their timing on their left hands.
I think about the Charlie horse that I would get after standing all day. So I'm like, no.
Lord.
I'll enjoy my show dog and a Coke and on the stands, and then I'll leave and not have to worry about anything. That's what.
Our ongoing joke is that I have one more season left in me. Anytime I demonstrate choreography to the kids, they're like, "Oh yeah, you got one more season left in you." I think
there
I might.
Go.
Maybe,
There you go.
Backfield dancer. I don't know.
There, see?
Come out for 32 counts and then that's it.
Yeah, you've got one left in you for sure. All right,
Just
let's get into this
Just
one
one
here.
show. That's all you got, but
That's
you got it, right?
One final performance, break a leg. But let's pop in here. I think that we've actually got a couple little segments for our What Are We Doing this week?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Who's got one for us first?
I'll get my rant out of the way, and I'm going to call it "Lot Are We Doing?" The lot has grown in tremendous popularity, and look, I are a drummer. I watch lot videos all the time, but I don't go to the lot in the parking lot, because when you're at the show site, you need to be focusing on what you're going to be doing when you go into the stadium to perform your show. Sitting there trying to play all these extra cool, super hard, gridlet, flammable exercises that have nothing to do with your show, and then you go out on the field and you blow your first tap roll attack. Lot are you doing? And of course, monkey see, monkey do, as we know in this activity. If we see a DCI corps do it, well, obviously we need to do it. And then pull into a band show in the fall, and you see all these groups trying to play all these cool, tap space exercises that Vanguard did 20 years ago, and they can't. And then they can't play their show. Do what's important to your show. The best compliment I ever got in all my years of teaching was when you're down in Wildwood, somebody came up to me and said, "You guys are really boring in the lot, but yet you won." And I'm like, yeah, because everything we do in the lot is what we're going to take onto the floor.
Yeah. Dude, I'm the biggest proponent of do something simple in the lot so your kids can actually focus on the quality of what you're doing. Like, if I'm trying to play this crazy hard etude because it's fun and it's exciting, cool, that's neat. It's not like there's no reason to do it, but I've always been in drum lines that I think are more rooted in their East Coast way, where they're no, we're going to play very simple basics, the same things that you played on your day one of band camp as a freshman, but we're going to see we're going to push the limit in how good you can execute it.
Yeah, I mean, you can create an exercise that's got some groove, but what you're playing has to apply to what you're doing in the show. All my years at West Shore, and then all the years in West Shore alumni where we played on stands because we were old, we played an exercise that East Coasters will know, Sabracita. It started with the Crossman, transferred out. It was basically just a big bass run with the snares and tenors doing some independent things, and then you had a groove. And I insisted we play it. Why? Sure, it was cool and it had the groove, but that never-ending bass run was needed for the bass drums.
Yeah. Because
of the stuff we were playing in our show. So there we go. It was fun. It was cool. We could bob our heads, and we got our 3s and 4s really clean at the same time. Yes. And that's what you need to do in the lot. I won't name any names. They're now a top corps, but years ago they weren't. And I saw them playing all this incredibly hard stuff, standing still at Hershey Stadium. And then they went out in the field, and it was just no. I wanted to go down and hug the kids because it wasn't their fault. It was their staff's fault for making them do that. And that just turned me off on the lot ever since. Even all my trips to Dayton, the couple that I made, except for going out to see maybe Pulse or RCC, I avoid it. I'd much rather watch the whole show.
Well, see, I think that's such a percussion thing because, in the color guard world, I mean, for myself, maybe I'm speaking for me, but my warm up time is to focus, and not putting on a production in a parking lot. I'm trying to get them in the mindset for what they got to do in a few minutes. So if somebody comes up and is watching what we're doing, that's great and fine. But we're not outside in the parking lot performing for you. We are performing for ourselves to get us ready for the real show.
Right.
Well, that one's definitely been a debate for a while. It's funny, in the WGI season, I'm actually totally opposite that I am in drum corps. Like, I really just want to watch the shows. I feel like the lots are interesting, but like the groups aren't even as clean in indoor. I'd way rather just check out and see like a good, real, well executed show. But I've got a what are we doing for this week? Actually, I think that I don't know if any of you guys play video games much or you've been hearing, but for the first time in a long time, they came out with a college football video game, kind of like Madden. It's been about 10 years since they had one for college football. And on the new college football game, they put so much effort into designing out these really authentic like sequences for game day. They even like have the band in their like traditional pregame locations and stuff as the groups run in. They go through all this effort, but then they didn't do the band uniforms correctly. Like Penn State is wearing black pants and we wear white pants. And everything else about the stadium is meticulous. The band is even standing in the right spots of the field for the like entry sequence when the football team runs out.
Are the drummers wearing gloves for Penn State?
That's something actually I really should look closely and check and see, because I couldn't see past the fact that they were wearing black. It's not even a color that they use. It's blue and white. Like, what is going on? But it's only, to be honest, it's a half-hearted what are we doing, because the flip side of this coin is that same game, I think, did the biggest shout out to Drumline and like the general population that I've seen maybe since Drumline the movie. Because like for this game, that's honestly going to be like a really big game for lots of kids, like 11 to 13 year olds, 10 to 13 year olds that are like right about to get into band age. They made all of the menu music for the whole game. So anytime you're in a menu for any reason, it's just drumline cadences. And they actually
7 Army Nation.
None of that. No band, no nothing. It's all like freshly recorded, like really cool, very modern, and like ripping drumline cadences. Like, I want to know who wrote them. We need to get them on the show, because like it is not some stock material. And like there's lots of time that you need to spend in the game. Like if you're just a kid that was like playing the story mode functionally of the game, like where you build out your college football dynasty, you would spend literally hours sitting around recruiting players, just having drumline cadences blasted at you. And I think like it's doing something. It's going to get in some brains. Like we're going to see more kids interested in drumline, just because like they're sitting there. Kids are going to put hundreds of hours in just listening to drumline now. So I thought it was really cool. I thought like it's like, wow, I haven't heard like fat unisons and a fours run in like an EA sports game ever. It's pretty cool. Pretty out of place.
That is cool.
Do we got any other what are we doing?
So what are we doing? As a person who's getting his doctorate, I have to use my brain for that. I'm going to see a drum corps show or a marching band show or a winter guard show or a drumline show with a show dog and a Coke. It's not that deep, right? Like I understand the sophistication part of it, right? I understand you want some elevated thought, but if I've watched your entire show and I look at the person beside me and go, what did we see?
Yep.
Probably overthought. Yes.
What are we doing?
A great moment in my early judging career was a respected elder statesman in the East Coast sat there and listened to this band staff explain their show for their entire 3-minute critique. And he looked at him and said, "You just spent your entire critique time telling me about your show that I'm probably never going to see again for the rest of the season. And now you're going to have to do this every week so everybody gets it. So I wish you the best of luck. Drive home safely." And I'm like, yeah.
That's so funny,
so
dude.
true.
That is some real old school style East Coast commentary. Like I could,
but he was, you can't. He was right.
He is right. It's completely
because with so few shows on the schedule now, the opportunity to see a drum corps show live or WGI, there's still not like California's got something going every week with percussion, but you don't have a lot of opportunities to see this stuff live anymore like you did in the old days. If you can't get it on the first read, you're losing people.
If you can't get it from the show title and watching the first couple of seconds of it, you didn't do it right.
Yeah, if I have to listen to a podcast where they talk about your show for 45 minutes, you've overdone your show. Sorry.
Agreed.
So again, like I always say this, like when designing or going into helping people, that my mother, who knows nothing about nothing, should be able to understand what the show's about.
Mm-hmm.
But me, as a person who has been around this and like taught Moses how to spin a flag, if I get the little nuance moment through it, then that is the perfect mix of it all, right? It should be general for like the common person to understand, but then people who are a more educated audience member would get the little nuance moments in it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, one of the greatest examples recently was when BD did Fellini-esque. Now, how many people know Fellini? I knew the name, but you could tell the show was about making movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You didn't have to know the backstory on all of his movies and all that other stuff. It was about making movies. And after many years of BD not being very popular with their show design, they were beloved and they popped a record score. Blue Coats, downside up. Slides, it made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
The Academy, when opportunity knocks, there's doors.
Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing that one live, too.
Like I teach elementary school for a living, so I say this a lot, and Trish, I think you say this too in the pre-K. I'm like, this really is not rocket science. Like,
no,
put your pencil here, do this, do that, right?
Right.
Or this is the letter A, or for me, this is a ta, this is a TT, right? But it's not rocket science, but we can make it because we're trying to seem self-important. Question mark. I hate to say it that way. But
yeah.
Okay. So my What Are We Doing is about my beloved, my favorite corps. Everybody knows this, Carolina Crown. Okay. Last year, well, first of all, I loved the show last year. I love the show this year too, but last year they waited till Allentown to put the crown set in, and it was a moment. It was a total moment. This year, they've already put it in. I think it's too soon unless there's something else coming. So please, Carolina Crown, this weekend in Allentown, give me something more at that ending, please.
I want to see the whole torch. I want to see the whole torch go up in flames.
That's what I want. That's what, not the torch. I want to fill the whole crown.
I think
they've got to have something.
Because the one that's there neck and neck with Phantom Regiment, I hate to say it, one of the best endings of DCI this year.
And they're not done with it.
No, I don't think so either.
You still got kick halts and leg outs. And
I was going to say the legs got to go out this weekend.
Probably horns crabbing and trying to think of every other Phantom. Oh, nobody's died yet in the show. So you got all kinds of Phantom gimmicks past yet to come.
You're not
wrong. They just
wrong.
made the most Phantom show ever. I would love it if they just spent 2 weeks just turning it into the most Phantom show they've ever made.
We're on their design team next year, and next year's show is called Phantom-esque.
Well, they have the alumni corps coming up in a couple of years at Indy, so I would imagine that could be your dream Phantom show there.
Oh,
God. That's what I want alumni corps to be. Nothing but fan service.
Mm-hmm.
They should do a crown show that's nothing but crown sets.
Okay, so
I'm on staff with the Crossman alumni, so trust me, you'll see crosses, surprise, and
yes,
all the crowd favorites that everybody
Are we
knows.
playing? How many versions of Birdland are we getting?
I am sworn to secrecy, and I plead the fifth on that. Yes.
Okay, I need Birdland and First Circle. We'll be good.
I need Puma.
All right. Do we got any more water redoings?
Oh, I'm about to rant and I'm about to make some people mad, but I am just going to go ahead and say it. And I feel like I keep saying this and saying it over and over again. But all of you back in my day people, get somewhere with your bad back and your knock knees and sit down and quit talking about these kids that are out here on the road, working their butts off, doing the thing that they love. We know that back in your day, you wore regular uniforms. We know that you had more music and it had melody and blah, 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 blah. We are not back in your day, baby. It is 2024. Let these kids get out there and make the magic that they're doing. Let's keep pushing this activity forward so that it stays alive. I'm tired of seeing y'all's posts on the internet. I'm tired of you coming up to me talking all this crap. I don't care. Get somewhere and sit all the way down. What are you doing? What are we doing?
Wait 1 second here. People are coming up to you.
Oh, girl, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, I had it my rookie year in 1989. Somebody's like, well, that's not the kind of stuff we were doing 20 years ago when I was marching into West Sherman. I'm like, oh, that was 20 years ago. Sorry, we like to play jazz fast and clean. You guys like to play Columbia Gem of the Ocean. It is what it is. I frequently get myself in trouble online because I'll just say to people, look, drum corps has never changed backwards with the exception of one rule change in all time. And that was for a while, vocals were penalized and then they brought them back in the 80s and made it legal again. That's the only time drum corps went back and changed something. Change has been happening in drum corps since day 2. And alumni have been complaining in drum corps since day 2.5.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's how the alumni complain that is the biggest problem. You know what? There are things in today's shows that I don't necessarily like. It's not because it's not what I did. Maybe I just don't like it. But you know what? When I go back and I listen to some of the older stuff or pull up the old videos online, there's stuff from the 60s and 70s I didn't like either. And I'm just realizing it now because I was just a little kid back then. It's going to change. It's going to keep going. And you have 2 ways to vote your opinion.
Well,
show up and watch and be supportive, or just don't go.
As my granny says, everybody.
Because the activity is a business. And if they truly understand that the fan base is not happy and they see attendance drop and the money stops rolling in, then maybe they'll take a look at some of these things. But guess what? Lucas Oil keeps selling out every year. Night Beat just had a record crowd at Wake Forest last night. Murfreesboro is packed looking at the videos I saw online. The all-age show I was at had a good crowd. The open class show last week or Friday night in Dover had a bigger crowd than last year, their second year in existence, and not exactly a metropolitan area. The activity is growing because they're focusing on what's coming up and what's there now. They're not worried about 1985 anymore. And that's the biggest thing that I think was hurting DCA because they were trying to straddle the fence for what the performers want to do now and what the alumni wanted to see. And you're never going to merge those two worlds. Yes, you're going to have older folks that aren't going to care and are going to love all the change, but you're not going to win them all over. Focus on where your bread and butter is at. The kids doing it now, the people teaching that are also teaching that next generation, and keep pushing it forward from there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Amen.
Some groups in all age, like I think the Bush Show does a great job of like honoring some aspects of traditional drum corps and like traditional uniforms, traditional show design and stuff like that, while still like implementing some more modern stuff. Like,
yeah, the cabs this year are they kind of look like the cabs. Mm-hmm. They snuck the rumps into the show, but yet there's a whole lot of modern stuff happening in the show. But there's enough there to keep, the old timers happy because they got the rumps happening in there for part of the show. And that's the way to do it. Blue Coats this year, anybody my age or older knows Boston. You know that song that Blue Coats are opening up with. You've heard it on every classic rock station for 40 years. How can you not like that?
Exactly right. Blue Coats, I always respect them for moving the activity forward. I feel like love it or hate it, they continuously move it in a new direction. So very meta of them to do their show changes everything. It's like actually the most Blue Coats show ever when you think about it.
Yeah, so next year will be alumni complaining.
It's coming. It's undoubtedly coming in a couple weeks, it looks like.
Where's VK when we need them? If there's ever a perfect show for the Velvet Knights, it's about alumni complaining.
Bring VK back.
That would be incredible. All right, let's get to our gush and goes. I've got one that I'm excited about, but Trish,
I got it. I got you.
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush and go.
I'll get us going first, I guess. So Gush and Go this week, I'll be I just got a new teaching gig offered up, which I'm gonna be slipping into. Gonna split time between my high school and Rowan University, their marching band. So
I saw them last fall.
Yeah. Last year was their first season of getting marching band going at Rowan, but they're a big music education school. I think Rowan's a state university of New Jersey. So they're really trying to build like a school kind of like Westchester or like Western Carolina for like people that are maybe more familiar with some of these like big East Coast powerhouse marching band and music ed schools. They're going into their second year doing it. So it's like a get in on the ground floor type of thing.
Yeah, they performed at the Cavalcade Championship show that I judged last fall. You would not have known that was a first year ensemble. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like I'm real excited to get into that world because I've kind of dipped my toe a lot deeper in entertainment style band instead of drum corps over the last like year or so, I would say, doing Eagles Drumline. So like college band and that whole realm is its own thing. It's kind of to me, it's real relaxing and like very fun to not have to worry about being clean and instead get to worry about like being as entertaining as we can be. Mm-hmm. You know, like you're still going to try to be clean. It's not like you're not going to try to be clean, but what we're trying to do is not the same. And the people we're trying to do it for are not the same people. And like, we can just have a much more relaxed time. So I'm real excited about it. That's my gush and go for the week. Shout out to Rowan University. Trish, what do you want to gush and go on about?
Well, I'm super pumped. To tell you guys all about DCI East next time we're on. I'm also super pumped because the DCA drum corps, one of the DCA drum corps I was in, Syracuse Brigadiers, is having a little reunion Saturday afternoon, and I'm really excited to see. Yeah, I'm really excited to see so many people I haven't seen in a while, and it's gonna be really cool. Good times.
I'm real excited for Allentown too. It's going to be fun. I wonder what it's going to be like not having cadets because I'm so used to seeing like the whole Holy Base reunion and everything going on up there.
Well, that still happens, but
yeah, they're doing that. They're
still doing HB reunion. Okay.
Yeah,
that's good. They should.
My tailgate area is usually the last several years has been right next to where the cadets have congregated, but I think it's going to have a little bit of a different feeling this year than it has in past years. It'll be a down moment for sure, but the ones I know, I'll walk over, give them a hug, tell them I love them. I love their drum corps, and just like I've had to do with too many alumni of other corps over the decades. I miss your corps, but I'm glad you're still coming.
Yeah. It's going to be good that at least like Allentown's like the mecca for cadets and cadets alum. Like at least they'll be able to still hang out with all the people that they've been around for years, even though the corps is not there with them.
Yeah, that's my gush and go is Allentown. I mean, that's really my home show anymore because there's nothing in Hershey like there used to be. We have our little tailgate area that we've been going to for decades because we have connections with the Allentown School District and the people that own the property we tailgate on. So I'll get to see so many friends. I'll get to see all the world-class corps in one shot. I know people hate it because of the weather and the hill, but let's be honest, that regional makes DCI more money than the other regionals combined, and they are going to keep going there until they can get a better deal, or there's a dome that doesn't sound like the one in Syracuse in the footprint.
Allentown's just classic. I feel like they couldn't do away with it. Allentown, it could be the new Eastern Championship or something. It's got to
be the longest continuous stop on the tour. I mean, it's been going since like 77 or 78. It's tradition. Yeah, I know it could thunderstorm. I mean, I've already looked at the forecast for the weekend at least 3 times already. But it's still Allentown. It's like a college football game for the activity, because all the gatherings in the park and the parking lot. And now with the food trucks down on the street, you get to see even more people there, as opposed to fighting your way up at the top of the hill for the souvenir stands. It's the last big outdoor show before finals, and it carries that vibe. You get a lot of people, their season ends at Allentown. They're not going out to Indy.
Yeah, it's always been me until this year. This is my first time. I should get out there for the first time.
Ricardo, I do apologize now in advance for your doors in the hill.
Yeah, I've been mentally preparing myself for that. So, but I'm piggybacking my gush and go off of you guys, because I'm very excited about Allentown. I'm excited to get to see Trish and Steven in person and hang out for a hot second. And just
which night is Academy? Do you know?
Friday night.
Okay.
Friday.
All right.
So, yeah, and I'm gushing because I'm excited about wrapping up this season. Like, it's been great, like jumping back in the ring and being on the road and doing all this stuff, and just watching these kids grow and seeing where they started at the beginning of the season and where they are right now. And I'm ready to just put a little bow on that and wrap it up and like leave that in my heart for another year.
Aw.
And my gush and go has nothing to do with drum corps. I'm excited to see Wolverine and Deadpool.
Nice.
It's good.
Well, there we go.
That's good. Every now and then we got to keep gush and go away from band. It doesn't have to be about band. It's good. Thank you, Tony. Awesome. Well, this was fun. Certainly an informative rehearsal this week. I want to thank our hosts, Trish and Ricardo, as well as our guest clinicians, Tony and Jeff. Please tell our listeners where they could find you on social media. Tony, do you have any place they could go?
I just have a Facebook, and I think the kids call it a gram. I'm at that age. I don't know. Like when you were talking about the video games, I was like, speaking.
Yeah.
Again. Nothing official or anything of the sort.
Well, they could take a look for you on Facebook. And Jeff, what about you? Is there any place anyone could go check you out if they wanted to?
Facebook, Instagram, any of the DCAF podcast official sites. I participate in those,
Awesome. Well, go check it out. DCAF, go give Jeff listen. My bad. I'm getting my words all slipped up out here. But one more thing, we also have our own YouTube channel now that's got many of our interviews coming out as full video editions as well. Go subscribe, check them out. You don't want to miss them. And before you close out of your podcast listening app, subscribe, write us a review, share this with a friend. You can follow us on social media at On a Water Break, and we will see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Ream. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lida. To learn more, visit lidamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.